Welcome to Politics Done Right on KPFT. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Give me a call at 713-526-5738. That is 713-526-KPFT. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Williams, your host. Thank you so kindly for spending this time with me. Don, how are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic.
Are we going to have a great show or what, senor?
Oh, we're going to have a great show.
We are going to have a great show because we're going to be talking about what's happening today, what happened yesterday, a few days ago, and what we expect to happen in the future. Is that right, my brother?
That is perfectly correct.
You know, folks, I mean, these are some crazy times. These are some crazy times. And you know what we need? We need you guys being engaged. So we want you to remember a lot of things happening today. You know, Don, we got net neutrality overturned today by the FCC, though it's the effects are not going to be immediate. So we have some time to go ahead and fight it in the courts, to fight it on the streets, and to fight it where it counts, to make sure all those politicians that would have elected those on the FCC board are canned.
That's completely correct. I'm hoping that people have already educated themselves on net neutrality. I'm hoping, because especially since the FCC didn't educate themselves on net neutrality.
Exactly.
But I'm hoping people will educate themselves and rally around, because this affects everybody. Affects young, old, Republican, Democrat.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. It's run by who? The corporatocracy.
You know what's interesting, Don? It doesn't really. I love that you just said this is one of those issues that are not partisan, right?
Yeah.
It is actually, in fact, it is anathema to partisanship. What happens here is that if you're a right winger and you have your own TV show on the internet, it affects you. So you can't get your message out either. So both sides should be fighting like hell to ensure that that these changes made by the net neutrality clowns get overturned. Because what it means now is it helps a whole lot of small, or rather a whole lot of large corporate folks, ISPs and so forth, that allows them to make a whole lot more money. Because as an example, I'm going to be running a Politics Done Right daily, once here at KPFT, the station itself, and 4 times in another studio, and at home studio. And the interesting thing about it is what we're going to be using is the internet to get the signal across. And think about what happens if Suddenlink or one of these other ISPs, fast ISPs, decide to say, okay, we are going to throttle you down. Suddenly, you can't do the things that you want to do. So we have to be very cognizant about that. But folks, we are going to have a great program for you today. We are going to have a very good program for you today. Today, the title of the program is going to be, or is, Progressives Must Not Buy Into the Hype of the Alabama Win Lest We Miss the War. And I can tell you, some folks told me that I was defeatist. Some folks told me that, in fact, when I posted this on the Daily Coast, I got a whole lot of pushback. They wanted to sit back and say, oh, no, we won, as if something systemic changed because Doug Jones won. I want to hear your thoughts on it before I go a little bit further, Dan, because you're a millennial. You understand how things work. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, it's hard to say that it shouldn't have been so close.
Exactly.
This should have been a blowout.
Exactly.
And the simple fact that Fox News themselves said that, oh, well, it looks like we don't have enough white votes for Moore to win. That's crazy.
That is
to me.
sick.
That is sickness, and the sickness is that just because you have an R by your name does not mean you represent the values of what Republicans are supposed to be.
Exactly. And I'm not going to allow any particular what I call socially constructed race to take claim to either the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. In fact, I'd like to give some kudos to the Republican Party of the 1960s. The Republican Party of the 1960s were instrumental in passing civil rights. So,
Yeah.
I mean, for those people who listen to this program, they understand that what we stand for here, Don, you, myself, what those of us that are really into truth stand for is for, calling a spade, calling things out the way they should be. And right now, it is a fact that the Republican Party is a clear and present danger to the United States. It never used to be in the past. And the Democratic Party, even with the problems that it has, is a preferable place where one can build on moving the country forward. In my personal opinion, I can't see the other way.
They have clearly changed what conservative and liberal means.
Absolutely so.
That it never used to mean what they are doing now. Conservative was not a thing of, okay, well, we represent conservative values.
Exactly.
They added the word values afterwards.
Exactly.
And now it's this whole, and they don't even live by it.
Absolutely. You hit that on the money, Don. But anyhow, friends, listeners, everybody out there, the win in Alabama was great. It proved that with good organization and a terrible opposing candidate, we can eke out a win. I don't know if that's good. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know what that means. But the progressive revolution needs much more than that. It requires that we release the chains of indoctrination instituted directly by the tenets of the Powell Manifesto into the psyche of too many Americans, along with the neutralization of evil politicians and the right-wing operatives stoking hate and fear. Little typo in my preamble. But anyhow, before I get to the program, I want to remind all our listeners that KPFT is a bastion of intelligent voices and programs. And as a political activist myself, I have quite a few favorites. And one, first I want to tell you guys that the monitor is not there anymore. I hope that it'll come back when our brother gets better and gets through with his thesis, etc., etc., etc. But for now, we don't have it. But we do have Think Wing Radio with
Mike Honig Mondays at 9 p.m.
And of course, we have Partisan Gridlock with
Jeff Berg on Fridays at 3 p.m.
And of course, you also are its producer, etc. We also have Open Journal with
Dwayne Bradley and Marlo Blue on Mondays at 6 p.m.
And then there's Jazz Latino, Afro-Cuban Latin Jazz. It's at its very best with El Señor
Juan Flores on Tuesdays at noon.
And then we have your shows, of course. You are the man with the shows. The Human Condition at 3 p.m., followed by The Free Minstrel Show with Don and Dwayne at 4 p.m. on Fridays on KPFT on the HD3 side. And Don has a new show out that I haven't yet placed on my list, and that is?
It's a couple of shows.
Okay, okay. Go ahead. Tell the show, Don.
So we have Really, that's at 9 p.m. on HD.
Right.
That's tonight.
Right.
And then 10 o'clock we have Really But Not Really, and that's at 10 o'clock. That's a comedy show.
Tonight.
Tonight. That actually talks about everything that's going on in the world, except we do it through comedy.
And you're good at it. I must say that I've listened to your stuff and I've actually copied a few of your stuff. So keep up the good work. And guess what's happening? Those little phones are kind of ringing. So
I'm into it.
Yeah, but let me go ahead and continue with our entrance into the program, folks, as it goes here. Check out our full schedule at kpft.org, where you can find programming from music to politics, to medicine, to the eclectic. KPFT is a listener-supported public community radio station. So please, if you like what you hear, if you like what you see, visit kpft.org and ensure we remain strong, a strong, viable community radio station that provides news, programming, and information not influenced by, and the person that would say...
Plutocracy?
I like plutocracy, corporatocracy, or anything you want to say, but as long as we know what we're talking about.
Yes.
Don, he's doing all kind of multiple duties here, friends. Anyhow, continuing, this is KPFT 90.1 FM in Houston, Texas. We want to hear your voice. We want to hear your thoughts. Remember, our hashtag on Twitter is politics, hashtag politics done right. Please go ahead and follow me at Egberto Willies. Egberto Willies is my Twitter handle. Folks, this is a call-in show. You can call us at 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. This is KPFT 90.1 FM in Houston, Texas. But folks, and I'm saying it this time, Don, I'm saying it this time.
I noticed.
Okay.
I noticed.
Do you know what time it is?
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Okay, folks, as I mentioned, I did this blog post. I posted it also at dailycoast.com. You remember that's the largest liberal website in the entire country, dailycoast.com. It didn't get too much of a good reception. People thought I was a bit too negative, but you tell me after you call. Anyhow, the title of the blog is, I Refuse to Get Co-opted into the Doug Jones Euphoria. And it goes as follows. It's subtitled, The Numbers in the Doug Jones Win Are Pathetic. From a derelict media to a party that fails to see that there is a problem with our electorate that must be actively solved before anyone in this country can govern for the people, to be clear, one must be happy for the Doug Jones win. It tells the faithful that for a change, at last, given all the opportunities, we finally did it. We elected the best person. A perceived progressive can win when all the stars align. And the reason I'm so excited about saying that, remember, is that somehow, even when the stars are aligned, somehow progressives, somehow Democrats have a way of still losing, not taking advantage of it. We had the great work by Presidente Obama, who really knew how to work his base, but somehow many in the party itself have been unable to run that base. Anyhow, the underlying numbers coming out of Alabama, to me, should scare people. And I know when you look at the numbers, a lot of people like to separate it from the older folks and the millennials. And when they say, but look at the millennials and how those numbers differ. What I always remind folks is a whole lot of millennials they get impacted by externalities, and they become older as well, and sometimes adopt that of the older folk as well. So that is the reason why I don't hold, I simply look at the static numbers today and what we have to do to grow tomorrow. My first blog post after Doug Jones' win, titled, Democrat Doug Jones Beat Republican Pedophile Roy, but hear this, that was the first blog, pointed out the most significant fear, and it goes as follows, phone's ringing, and it goes as follows. The exit polls sadly reveal something that should be concerning to the entire country. And I mean, this should be concerning to the entire country. 52% of white women and 62% of white men were comfortable to vote for the misogynist, sexist, xenophobic, homophobe Donald Trump. That's the truth. And that was the entire population, right? That's the percentage of the entire population voting population that voted for him. But worse, in Alabama, 63% of white women and 72% of white men were comfortable to vote for the alleged pedophile Roy Moore. Folks, all these people have mothers, sisters, aunts, daughters, and women that make up your life, women. How can you justify given a pass? How can you justify? But I'll get into that a little later. Northern and southern Alabama, white rural strongholds did not vote in numbers as did the black middle of the state. Blacks overperformed, making up 30% of the votes, while only 26% of the electorate. Likewise, whites underperformed. The sleepers are but time bombs, as many were in the right areas for Donald Trump. Again, I want that sentence to be cauterized in your mind. The sleepers are but the time bombs. They are the time bombs. So when progressives are out there joyfully saying, oh, we did it, remember the sleepers. The sleepers brought in the right places El Señor Trump over the hump. America is a white country. Forget about the demographic information that many are feeding us about the browning of America by 2050 or whenever. If Democrats are to have a governing majority, the browning of America will not come fast enough. I tried to make the case in a piece I wrote several years ago titled, "White People, Not Latinos, Will Be the Real Swing Vote for the Foreseeable Future," that tries to bust the myth. I pointed out the following. Democrats need to take this time and understand who the real swing voters are. White people will be the only swing voter in America for the foreseeable future. As such, it is in the best interest that as Republicans start fighting for Latinos, like the white ones, Democrats start fighting to bring more white men and women into their ranks. A party perceived to be a party of minorities is not a viable party. Again, I repeat that. A party perceived to be a party of minorities is not a viable party. Not when race is still a factor in the country. That is just a statement of fact. It's not an easy statement to make. It's not an easy statement to accept, but it is a reality that is under the skin of everybody. Many will balk at that statement, specifically black women who have been the one group that the Democratic Party can depend on for near 100% loyalty. They are the ones that most loyally supported the candidate in Alabama and brought him over the top. That is a fact. The problem is one cannot escape the numbers game for a governing majority. And a governing majority isn't 50 plus 1. You can say, okay, we'll get a 20% white population. We get a 98% of black folk. We get 60-something% of Latinos. And we get a certain amount. And somehow we have this governing, this majority. But the way America is built, a governing majority is not 50 plus 1. And that is a problem that we're having in this country. Only a governing majority can create the systemic changes this country needs, from healthcare to a new economic system. Until we transform America, where Americans finally realize that race is but a social construct designed to control the masses, we must be in the game accordingly. Democratic activists must use, and when I say Democrat, I should also say progressive activists must use psychological tools and methods as indicated in books like Drew Weston's The Political Brain and Thomas Frank's Listen Liberal to start re-expanding the party. The Republicans played a psychological number on us all with their continuous enactment of the Powell Manifesto. Unfortunately, to date, Democrats have yet to respond appropriately to this reality. So folks, we have to get busy. We have to get real. We have to stop preaching to the choir, preaching to ourselves, making ourselves feel better. We have to look at the reality of how things are and not how we hope things would be. And that is one of the things that I try to promote in what we do. I try to be deadly honest, of course, as I see it, and with the expectations that others would come in and bring their point of view. So with that, I want to remind folks, this is a call-in show. Callers, 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Let's have the first call. Let's go to Scott, line number 1. Come on in, Scott. How are you doing, my friend?
Thank you. I need to know whether my internet service provider wants a liberal clientele or a right-wing clientele.
You know something? I don't know that first of all, I don't know that your ISP wants to know that, cares about that, or anything. Your ISP wants to maximize the amount of money it can get from every person that is sitting back there. So this net neutrality thing is really not a partisan issue at all.
Yeah, but what websites will they let me access?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
that's the big question.
Well, the thing about it is, it's not going to be about restricting access to website. It's going to be, it's more going to be put in channels of different speeds based on how much you're willing or able to pay.
Different speeds. So,
right, and you can kill a website by killing its speed. I mean, when my website was slow, I had to go make some modifications. I had to change ISPs to make sure that it could handle the increased traffic that it was getting. It was getting creamed when the traffic was slow and people would stop going to the site. So that is what that has a big part about it, sir.
So will my ISP give me easy access to daily costs?
Oh,
or,
yes.
banana guide or...
Yes. It's not going. The problem is not going to be on your side. It's not going to be on your side. The problem is going to be on the providers, the people that really care. Like, I am a provider. I actually give content. I give news. I give videos. I give all of that over the internet. I am the one who will suffer. But those people who follow me, who are interested in what I have to say, they will suffer because I suffer.
I see you on Facebook, and
yes, sir.
I see you on Daily Coast.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for calling, my dear friend. You have a wonderful day, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, let's go to line number 2. Tag, come on in, Tag. How are you doing today, my friend?
Good, Edberto. How about you?
Talking very, very well, sir. Very well. Talk to me.
There is only one way that the GOP supporters can allow things to happen like they've been allowing to happen, especially when it comes to Roy Moore and Trump.
Yes.
And especially those women that are supporting those people. Those people that support the GOP have to be in 100% denial, right?
Yes, I mean, I don't disagree with the denial, but when I am speaking to folks that are, even to women that continue to support it, they have been able to make an excuse for themselves. A good excuse that they give for themselves is they're not voting for Moore, the person. They're voting for the seat to ensure that Republican values are enacted. To which my answer is, if Roy Moore had taken a gun and blown somebody's head off, would you go ahead and still want him to serve just to keep that seat? And I have that same question for Democrats as well. I think Democrats have well answered that question in that they have gotten all their people out real quickly for simple, and that's, I shouldn't say simple, that is absolutely wrong, for things that they have done that doesn't pass, quote unquote, the moral code. The thing about it is, look, that argument is an argument that can pass, okay? Assuming it is true that one senator in Congress can really make a difference in the values that you're talking about, which is totally false. So that is how you come to the conclusion that is an excuse to allow them to feel better for, in your parlance now, being willfully ignorant.
And so my thought is the GOP is constantly preaching all this stuff like the deficit,
right?
And like morals,
right?
But when it comes right down to it, they don't practice what they preach.
Oh no! But we've known that a long time.
So the only thing we can really assume, and the only way that we can communicate with the people on the other side, is the fact that you're in denial.
Yes.
You think that because you've been told this time and time and time again, that's the way it is. But when it actually comes down to brass tacks, it's not that way. And I think that's been the problem with the Democratic Party for a long time. They've been a lot more willing to tell people like it is, and they just flat out don't want to hear it.
Let me tell you, I want to push back a little bit about that, because I'm all into talking and engaging people.
Right.
And it's funny, because I met a millennial at Starbucks that listened to me speak to another guy, and she said, you are practicing a particular conversational protocol called Rogerian or something. If you can find that for me, it's Roger something. I don't remember. Rogerian dialogue or something like that. And she said that's what you practice. And I never heard the term before. And I looked it up, and I'm like, oh yes, that's what I do. And what it is as follows, right? First of all, it is to 100% respect the person that you're speaking to, even as they're driving you crazy internally. And then secondly, ask them to defend their case, not by saying defend your case, but saying, okay, explain this to me. And what usually happens is that they start making the case analytically in their own minds, and 9 out of 10 times they find themselves agreeing. Roger, thank you very much. Is Don great or what? Don found it in no time. It's called a Rogerian argument.
Rogerian.
Yeah, you're great, Don. Thank you very much, sir. But he found it, he found it real quickly. But they eventually start to make the case for themselves, and then they come back, and there's 2 reactions after that. Suddenly they have to leave Starbucks or wherever it is that you're talking to, or they sit back with saying, "Oh wow, I get it, and the change starts." So what I tell a lot of progressives, a lot of Democrats, a lot of independents or whatever, don't just discard people, because we've been taught to take information from people we consider leaders at face value. I believe nobody, not even myself, without research and stuff. So when I talk here on air, I'm always telling folks, don't just listen to what I say. Look it up, because it's not like, you look it up in reputable sources to back yourself up. But as far as talking to other people, that's not enough with other people. What they have to do is convince themselves, and that's how I approach it on a personal level. The thing about it is, we have to do all of this on a personal level. Just blasting it out on a website is not good enough anymore, because websites come a dime a dozen. But when you have a relationship with people and they start to develop a liking for you, even though you're of a different culture, a different ideology, once they respect you, they start to think, well, maybe I should listen. Even if I'm not going to say, hey, I've seen the light, at least you've planted a seed and the change starts. Anything else, my dear friend?
Well, I like the Rogerian thing, and I appreciate what you do, Egberto, and I'll let you go. Thank you very much. Have a good weekend.
Thank you very much, Tag. You as well. Bye. Okay, let's go to Erica, line number 1.
What?
Berto, hello.
Yes. How you doing? Jonna, you got dropped by mistake. Come on in, Drum. Come on in, Erica.
Hi. I listened to your show. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you so kindly, my friend.
I just wanted to comment on what you were saying about watch out for the sleepers.
Right.
When Trump was elected, there was an uproar. People were not just disappointed, but they were shocked.
Yes.
And I wanted to say that I was almost not shocked.
Mm-hmm.
I was more disappointed than shocked,
mm-hmm.
because I felt like it reflected something that's reality in this country, and
mm-hmm.
that is that ignorance can sometimes dominate the vernacular.
Right.
And I feel like it's very similar to something I was learning in one of my courses a couple of semesters ago regarding homegrown terrorism,
mm-hmm.
and how a lot of the problem, even though the media is telling us is over there in the Middle East, is sometimes here on our own soil. And the statistics are breathtaking for what the Southern Poverty Law Center has come up with for things that have happened in this country, and that aren't really reported in the news.
So true.
Just because that's not what gets a lot of ratings.
Right.
So I just wanted to note the parallel that the sleepers are kind of everywhere, the people who are silently thinking these things that aren't very well researched, that aren't very well rounded, that don't really benefit them in the end, and how tragic that is, and sort of ask you what can be done. I'm a millennial. I'm an idealist. I'm a liberal. I'm an independent. I want change. I want things to be better. I love my country, and I want to know what your advice is for how to proceed when things seem that way, when things feel overwhelmingly tipping the balances in that direction.
Let me tell you, I have the perfect answer for that. First of all, you are our hope. You are our future. I'll be frank with you. I work with all kinds of folks, older, younger, whatever, but the folks that I enjoy working the most with, not only because of your passion, but because I know that we are going to be leaving the country in your hands next, or millennials. And just as you've just spoken and what you've said to me is exactly what you say everywhere, not just to me, but that is what you say everywhere, because you know what? You have an audience, know it or not. I tell you, I have conversation. I always talk about Starbucks because it's my second office. Okay,
Mine too.
I live in Starbucks. So I mean, what happens then is that you have to. When you speak to people, you allow them to listen in. When I'm speaking for others to also listen in, and also I try to keep a demeanor that is not scary, a demeanor that is not intrusive, and at the same time a demeanor that isn't confrontational. And I do that purposefully, because that is when people feel comfortable and continue listening to the conversation, and not only listening to the conversation, but actually coming out to you after the conversation is over and say, hey, I was listening to you, and you reach the soft targets first. But then also, believe it or not, people, you lead by example, right? As somebody, the amount of people that just listen to you as a woman, as a millennial, as somebody who speaks about being a liberal, of somebody who says, I love my country. Because remember, a lot of folks in their cars right now listening to this show, once you said liberal, they got turned off. You're a traitor. You don't love America. And then you came out and said, I love America. And then you're young. And so you've dispelled with your voice so many stereotypes, and people are listening. The problem is, a lot of folks don't give you the amount of time that you need to express yourself as you did here. And they don't hear that. And that is what we're here for. We're here to say, this is what America really looks like, and these are really the people in America. You don't know with your statement how many folks you've actually activated. And I can tell you that that's what you've done with your call.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for that perspective. I appreciate it.
Yes. Anything else you want to add, Erica?
No, I love your show. I'll continue listening.
Thank you very much. And I tell you what, don't only listen, but you need to tell other people about this show. Remember, we're on Facebook Live as well, and we're all over. The way we grow this movement is to share these shows to make sure others listen, because we don't have the capital like the big corporate, like you hear Don always comes in and say the corporatocracy. We don't have those big bucks, but we have you. So thank you so kindly for calling, Erika.
Thanks for listening.
Absolutely. Let's go to John. John, number 3. How are you doing, John?
I'm okay. Good afternoon, Egberto.
Talk to me, my brother.
Okay. I've had probably a couple hundred conversations with you, right?
Yes.
I don't
more
think
than
I've
that.
Never disagreed with you more than what you've said in this conversation.
I know. I figured I was going to hear that. You know that, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think where to start at. Okay, so first of all, if you look at all the special elections, and you include this in, the difference between the results from 2016, and of course there wasn't a Senate race that Jeff Sessions ran, but there was one that Richard Shelby ran, and he won by 28 points, basically the same amount as Trump. So that's number one. You're very much underestimating how deeply red Alabama is, and to pull off a win, yes, it was mainly because that all of the crazy stuff that Moore did and all the allegations against him, but they had generic ballots coming out, where the Democrats were within 4 to 6 points, and a couple of them they had leads, and also even before all these allegations came out, there was about a 13-point lead for Moore. So, I mean, there's been all this consistency. Right now, if you look at the House races, there are 21 races where Democrats have leads in right now. All they need is 24 to take the House back. So, I mean, I just think I don't know where you're getting all of this information, but it's really not factually correct.
Okay, let me stop you right there. Hold on, John. I got to stop you right there. John. I need to stop you.
Obama won that.
John.
He won in 2008 and 2012 with that exact coalition that you said could not win elections.
John,
he won
overwhelmingly
with that coalition.
John, I need to stop you right there. I just want to push back strongly on one thing. You made a statement that I don't want left unanswered on this. You can come on the air and say anything. You're my buddy, but don't say that the information that I put out is not factual, because everything that I put out there. Let me finish. I gave you all your talking time. Come on, John. But the blog post that I wrote also linked to where the data comes from, which I think you consider CNN and Washington Post reliable sources. And let me come back with, I understand what you say about what coalition Obama won with. I understand all of that. The reason I brought in Trump, the Trump ballot as well as the Alabama ballot was to show specifically that whites in general, if you look at whites in Alabama, with the performance of whites in Alabama with the election of this person, and the performance in whites in the election of President Trump, There's not, we're talking, and you're the one who just said it, right? You, Egberto, you don't understand how red Alabama really is. Yes, I do. And then, but then I want to say, compare the white vote in the entire country for Trump, the percentages, with the percentages in Alabama. Look at those numbers. Those are factual numbers, and while they are different in 8%, 10%, or whatever, they're not substantially different. That is what I'm saying. And when I spoke, and Erika, who just called in, understood what I'm saying when I spoke about sleepers as well. In the other blog that I referenced here that I didn't read, because again, you don't want to just come on here and read a whole bunch of stuff. When I referenced sleepers and when I referenced the trigger point between allies is something that I was even discussing. Yesterday, guess who I met? Yesterday I met Dan Rather, and we were sitting down, we were kind of standing up talking about stuff, and I was talking about that tipping point. And one of the things we also discuss is the white population, and as far as not only the white population, but that tipping point of you losing allies. What I mean by that is triggers that when that person goes into the poll, they just think they just get nativist. They just get into that survival mode because of triggers that's been placed into them. They're not bad people, but it's because of triggers that are put into them. My goal in taking the stance that I'm taking here is not a defeatist goal. It's a goal to tell progressives the way we have to do. The thing is, don't look at the static numbers today. Look at the changing of people's values, people's minds over time. Because if you don't do that, if you just look at these static numbers, that's what the Republicans do to us all the time. We are winning until we don't. And you look at for me, performance is everything. I look at the performance over the last 20 years. It hasn't been good. But go ahead, my friend. Continue. I just wanted to correct you.
The numbers are actually, drastically different from 2016 because Trump is the most unpopular president to ever come in his first year. Nobody's been as unpopular as Trump has ever in the history of polling in the first year. The generic ballot Democrats, they just came out in the last
15 points.
Came out recently in the last few days.
Yeah.
PPP Democrats up by 11, Monmouth up by 15.
Yes, 15.
As 2 from last week, Quinnipiac 12 points, Marist 13. They're up by 10 points in the generic ballot.
John, look, I am with you, John. We are on the same team. I'm with you. I understand all those numbers. I really, really do. My fear is you're not going to jump off the boat. You are not. I understand that. You're a real activist, and you're pushing our values. You're pushing what we have to do. The problem, John, is a lot of people listen to those numbers that you're putting out there, and they go home and they go to sleep. That is what I'm trying to prevent us from doing.
Well, they didn't go to sleep in Alabama.
No, of course.
The turnout was great. They even beat the.
Yes. Look, John, we're on the same team, brother. But again, my thing is not to pat. You'll never have me here patting myself on the back. I'll let you pat everybody else on the back. But I am not going to be doing that. No, I'm scared to death.
I do agree with you that, we have to continue to work hard. But, I see all of this energy, and it's just, to me, it's, of course, if Moore wouldn't have had all these, sexual allegations against him, the Strange would have probably won, and Moore would have probably won. But, it would have been very close, and, things are drastically changing. Trump is incredibly unpopular.
And John,
and this is going to be a big year for Democrats.
Let's make sure.
And as long as we work hard, and we will work hard.
Good. That's all I want to make sure, sir. So, don't hold a rock over my head for the tonality that I take to try to keep us from not just being complacent. Okay, that's all I'm doing, my brother. All right. All right. You have a good one, Johnny. You keep calling, brother.
All right, I will.
All right. All right. Let's go to Johnny, line number 5. Come on in, Johnny.
Yeah.
Hey, wait a minute, Johnny. How do you start a conversation like that? Oh, yeah. Come on in, Johnny.
Well, Donald Trump is not going to be removed from office or resign over whether or not he's filled the White House with snakes. It's not his long history of changing employees, vendors, customers,
right,
whether it's through real estate or casino deals or his Trump so-called university.
Right.
It's not bribery of that Florida state prosecutor who was running for office and she drops criminal investigation against him. It's not for lawsuits against him and his dad for discriminating against black people. It's not even for threatening nuclear war. What's going to bring him down, if at all, is going to be Gropegate, just like they tried with Bill Clinton.
You think so?
Oh, yeah, and look at his Twitter message. Right after that guy, that Democrat in Alabama, won by a slim margin over that idiot Republican, when Doug Jones won.
Right.
He congratulates him kind of in a half-baked way.
Yes, he sure did.
With, it never ends, I believe his words.
Right.
In other words, this is a temporary win, and we'll always be fighting. And that's the one thing I agree with, is that Republicans are like pit bulls.
Yes.
They do not let go.
So that Johnny, I'm glad that you said that, and I think John understands that's what I do. That's what I have to do, and that is. These guys are like pit bulls, and they just keep coming and they just keep coming. And what happens is we win. We elected President Obama, and after President Obama got elected, everybody went to sleep, and we got a suboptimal.
I want to fill that in a little bit.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
This is not, and I know you've probably said this, and lots of other people have said this on KPFT and on TYT Network, the Young Turks. This is not a time for Democratic voters to celebrate nor to let their guard down, and it's especially not the time for Democratic Party leadership to ignore their populist base, their left base. And I will disagree with one thing you said about Barack Obama.
Go ahead, let me hear it.
You said early on in your show that he knows how to work his base. Well, I beg to differ, because he ignored his base. He dragged his feet on that pipeline. He insulted Kanye West, calling him a jackass. I mean, it's not just him, but too many Democratic politicians are too quick to criticize their own people in an effort to gain some kind of acceptance by Republicans, and that's never going to happen.
You know something,
stop shooting rifles on TV when we run for office and start being true.
Johnny.
And sometimes obnoxious.
Johnny, my lines are filled up, but I want to just tell you, you are absolutely right. Progressive America is a progressive country. I keep preaching that. A lot of people push back on that. You ask them their values, they are progressive. We need to go out there progressively and tout progressive values in a fashion that suits the population that we're talking to. Most of these poor populations that are voting Republican, if you drop their Social Security, if you drop anything else, you know what they do? They'll come to you rather quickly, but they don't know that. Johnny, I got to let you go because our lines are full. Real quick, brother.
Name change of your program.
Yes.
Instead of politics done right, let's do a Frank Luntz and call it politics done correctly, or corrected politics, or political course correction show, or something. Don't use the word right in that way.
Oh, God, you're the second person yes, okay, my brother. I don't know. I have so much branding on that. But anyhow, thank you very kindly, my friend. You have a good one. Okay, Johnny? Let's go to Judith, line 3.
We've got to be more progressive. None of this whippy stuff.
All right, brother. Number 3, Judith. Number 3, Judith, come on in.
Hi, Egberto. I want to tell you that I agree with you wholeheartedly, that it's a mistake for the Democrats to be excited about having won in Alabama. And it really concerns me that I'm a progressive, I'm a burner, and I don't think it's the... Are you there?
I'm here, Judith.
Okay. I think the Democrats are defeating themselves.
Right.
You know, if we could get rid of the people, the neoliberals, that we would have no problem getting rid of the Republicans.
I think what you're saying is, if we really had a real progressive party that Americans could believe were really a party of the people, then it wouldn't be difficult to reach the people no matter what, who they are. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. The problem is this: a lot of what we call the establishment Democrats really believe that you have to have the monies from the plutocracy to win. I personally think that Bernie Sanders, remember I was a Bernie Sanders delegate out there in Philadelphia. So right. Bernie Sanders, I think, proved that we can do a whole lot of stuff with little dollars. In other words, you would get people en masse coming to you if they really thought you're progressive, and if you really thought you're going to be for the people and not held to the corporations. What happens right now, though, is Republicans are bombastic in their support for you, and people love to see people who seem to be strong. And Republicans come across as they're strong, and even if they're wrong, they're going to fight for you. We progressives have to do that, and we have to do it from a populist point of view with responsibility. We can't come across like crazy populists. We have to come across like we're going to know how to keep the grid up. Even though we're progressive, we're going to be able to keep the businesses that we love, the businesses that need to be in effect to keep lives correctly living there, and that is what we have to do. We can't just be crazy left-wingers or whatever. We have to be responsible left-wingers that people can believe in and say, that is how we're going to do it. Do this. Our lines are filled up. I only have 14 minutes to get all these calls. Is there anything else you need to say rather quickly?
No, I just think that until we get the moral high ground again, I think, people laugh at us.
Thank you so I agree with you. I agree with you, Judith. You're absolutely right. Thank you so kindly. Okay, let's go to Jeff, line number 1. Come on in, Jeff.
Okay. I come to you with a heavy heart.
Come, heavy heart. Talk to me.
I think it's wonderful that an individual in Alabama has broken a 25-year tradition.
Yes.
That's wonderful. He can't do much,
right?
Based on the vote as to any kind of change. But what I'd like to point out is his opponent, who of course has not
conceded,
rejected his defeat,
right,
is saying that anything after the 10th Amendment is meaningless.
Right. I know. He only supports the Bill of Rights, nothing more.
And you've got to give credit to the people of Alabama to be able to understand what he's saying, however stunning it is, and I will get off the line.
Let me tell you, Jeff, thank you so kindly for your call. And you keep listening, keep sharing, and let folks know about our show, all right? You have a wonderful day. Okay, let's go to, tell me who to go to, Don. Okay, let's go to Linia. Keith, come on in, Keith. Okay, looks like Keith hung up. Let's go to Wayne. Come on in, Wayne.
Hey, brother, Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas, Wayne. I haven't heard from you in a long time. Talk to me, my brother.
I come to tell you what I have to say here is, what you're doing is a good thing, first of all. Let me say that.
Thank you so kindly, sir. Phone's ringing.
We have to inform all Democrats and progressives and liberals that we can't go to sleep on this here, because there was not a decisive win in Alabama.
You, sir.
It was a win,
Thank you,
but it was not decisive.
Right.
And I watched that the results come in. And they had a split screen on there, and they showed the Jones camp before the results went in, and they showed when what's his name, the pervert was winning.
Right.
Excuse my language, but I'm gonna say what I say.
Right.
Because we can't be weak here when we talk about what went on Tuesday night.
Yes, sir.
So we have to stand up for that. The pervert in his camp, and basically it was a bunch of old white people.
Right.
And I can't say this any other way. I hate to be sounding racist, but that's what it was.
No, you don't. Look, let me tell you. Race is a social construct. We all know that. But it so happened it plays a huge role right now in the United States. So we have to call a spade a spade. And the reality is right now, that's what you saw. The thing about it is I like people to qualify it a little better than that. Those 76% of whites in Alabama who would prefer a pervert over a progressive, because a lot of these people simply associate the Democratic Party as the party of minorities, they have a problem. And what I've always said is what we as progressive have to work on is that some progressives want to say, oh no, let's leave that alone. To which I say, as Erika said when she called in, remember that silent bomb that can explode at any time. Hey, look, Wayne, I love your call, but I only have 5 minutes to handle a few more calls, and I'd like to get everybody in before I go. Is there something quick that you need to say? Real quick, 10 seconds.
No, go ahead, Egberto.
Thank you, my brother, and thank you for
here listening because I got some more phone calls to make. But this is one thing I want to say: don't let those older white folks out. I want you to stay on this. Don't let those older white folks that will sit there and back up and sit there and hopefully try to elect a pervert to the United States Senate. Forget that.
Thank you very much, Wayne. And, remember, our next generation comprises folks like Erika, who just called in. So anyhow, let's go ahead and have line number 1 with Keith. Keith, come on in.
Yeah. He said that liberals and progressives need to, to go out and beat the Republicans, right? When I listen to your blog.
I don't.
My question.
Go ahead.
Pardon me?
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Basically, the Republicans keep winning. So the question is this: are Republicans, when it comes to elections, are they just smarter than Democrats?
Yes.
Or are they just
no, they're smart. Lazier? No, wait. I'll stop you right from where you said. Yes, they're smarter than Democrats when it comes to elections. You're absolute. You know what? I believe in I don't look at something and try to lie to myself, okay? I'm not going to lie to myself. Republicans are much better selling their policies than progressives are. Bar
none. Why is that? I thought that liberals are more intelligent than conservatives. I hear all the time over here.
Well, let me tell you something. I don't know what ideology you are, right? But there are two different things, right? There's good, there's bad, and then there's being able to sell or not. I mean, the fact of the matter is the people that are the richest in this country are stockbrokers and the titans of finance. They know how to make nothing. They make nothing. They create nothing. They don't understand fluid dynamics. They don't understand science. They don't understand anything at all. Yet, based on the structure of our economy, they are the richest. They're most successful, and they live the easier lives. Okay? Does that make them smart? Absolutely not. It just makes it that's the way things are. And a lot of smart people are so concerned about just living in their bubble of smartness that they don't go out and do the grunt work that people need to do to also bring people into the fold. And that is where that's where progressives fail. One of the things that I do as an activist myself is try to tell people, stop thinking people are where you're at. Start going to where they're at. And if you listen to my blog earlier, I mentioned the political brain by I forgot the name, what, Drew Weston, who explains that one of the problems we have with progressives is that we have a tendency to believe, because we know this is so logical, that everybody else is going to believe the same. It's not the case. You have to go out there and make your case. And what Republicans are, since the Powell Manifesto were able to do, is create institutions who created their own reality, and then they were able to go sell that reality. Should progressives do the same? Yes, they should.
But Republicans, are they better marketers, or do they just have a better product?
No, they're better marketers. The product is out today, and that's why we have the system the way it is right now. That's why most Americans are not doing successful.
Hollywood is very liberal, and they have lots of money, and they know how to basically make slick marketing campaigns.
Yes.
Why can't it get done with
because
in politics?
You ever hear me speak about the establishment, right? I love the way that you're interrogating me, because it's important that the rest of the population hears this. You are making excellent points, very good points. When you look at Hollywood, the titans of Hollywood who make money, let me tell you a little dirty secret. There are a lot of these Hollywood types that are very happy with the tax bill that is going to be effected by the Republicans right now. And they profess to be progressive liberals, okay? But they're just as happy with this tax bill. You have to realize the reality. There are very few people that are out there that are the real populists, that are the real people that are interested in the masses. So, I mean, when you look at me and say, oh, what about those damn Hollywood liberals? I'm saying, what about them? I look at them as the same way. So you're on the same page with me, my brother. You have anything else you want to add real quickly? Because I got to get.
One thing. Who do you think in 2020, well, who's going to get elected as the next president of the United States?
I am lost, brother. I have no idea.
Lieutenant Governor of California.
All right, we'll see. Thank you for your comment.
Because he's going to become governor very shortly, and then he will win.
Thank you, brother. Have a good one. Okay, let's go to MOD real quickly. Oh, William. Okay, come on, William.
Hey, Egberto. Happy holiday.
Happy holiday, my brother.
I'm still working on my card. It's going to be belated. But anyway, I have two items real quick.
You only got 30 seconds.
I clipped out of the Chronicle. It was on Sunday, October 29th.
Yes.
Male domestic abuse victims on the rise.
Yes.
And they've opened up a shelter for men that have been stalked by women.
Right.
And I called them, and I asked them. They knew all about the stuff that happened to me. And I said, well, is there anybody that's proactive in getting this out? You know, letting people know what really happened to this country?
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody has turned a blind eye to this stuff, and it is the root of the terrorism all over the planet.
Okay, William, I got to let you go. Thank you for making your point, because I have MOD, and MOD will...
1.5 to 3 million people in this country back 25, 30 years ago.
Thank you, MOD. I got to go, William.
Porno industry and stuff.
MOD, come on in, my brother. William, I'm sorry that I had to get to MOD because we are coming off air, and I have to give everybody a chance. MOD, really make your point, my dear brother.
Another fun facts, Egberto.
Yes, sir.
What does the Trumpster and Bill Clinton have in common?
I know you're going to tell me.
They're both were charged with sexual assault of a minor on his property. 1995, Trump in New York at Jeffrey Epstein's property. And 2013 in Jeffrey Epstein's Bahama Island. So assault, and the other one was indecency. But this is an old protocol that goes way back with the British, where they get dirt on somebody, and they can basically use that against them when it's time. So these people that are being hit right now with the sexual misconduct, I would say people like John Cronin, or
gotta go.
The guy that's the funny guy that's got busted.
Gotta go.
Can do basically character assassination too.
MOD, thank you. Call earlier, folks. Thank you so kindly for being a part of our show. As usual, this is your show. This is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. You can personally reach me by sending an email to egberto@politicsdoneright.com. Remember, Egberto is spelled E-G-B-E-R-T-O. Change starts with you. 90.1 KPFT gives you information not tainted by corporate interest. Please visit kpft.org and contribute. Let's ensure continued access to real information and news remain available to all. Again, thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right.